The judge imposed what we call an indeterminate sentence of 6 months and 1 day to 6 years of imprisonment. That is the sentence. Okay, that is the sentence. It means that if the judgment becomes final, then that is the sentence that will be served.
Don't be afraid, because if you don't use your rights, you will lose them. If we don't challenge a brazen move to try to roll back the rights guaranteed in the Constitution, we will lose them. We shouldn't be voluntarily giving up our rights. Sa mga Pilipino na nanonood po, hindi lang po to tungkol sa Rappler, hindi lang po to tungkol sa amin, tungkol po to sa inyo. Because freedom of the press is the foundation of every single right you have as a Filipino citizen. Pag wala pong katotohanan, pag hindi po namin mapigil ang mga somebody give me the word, power. If we can't hold power to account, we can't do anything. Pag hindi po namin makakayaning, if we can't do our jobs, then your rights will be lost. So sana po, tingnan po natin ang mga nangyayari sa kapaligiran natin ngayon, no? Ito pong mga restrictions. COVID-19, tama po yun. Dapat naman po tayo nag-physical distancing. Yung shutdown po ng ABS-CBN, that would have been unthinkable before this time. It has happened. And then an anti-terror bill that will take away, codify, institutionalize these abuses of power. It means that you can be called a terrorist, and without a warrant of arrest, you can be arrested for writing something. Any perceived critic, that you can be kept in jail for up to 24 days. Tingnan naman po natin ang lahat ng nangyayari sa atin bayan ngayon.
Attorney Ted, just asking lang, what do you make of the imposition of a jail sentence, because they heavily quoted from Tulfo sa Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court removed a jail sentence and just imposed fines, yet here there was a jail sentence?
Well, that's always in the discretion of the court. So even in the case of Tulfo, which they cited, it was the discretion of the court. So when the penalty is given to the court's discretion, the court is free to exercise whether to impose imprisonment or a fine. Would we have preferred fine? We would have preferred acquittal, but in this case, the court went with imprisonment. The range, however, is pretty much within the range of the penalty that can be imposed. It is pretty much the entire range of the indeterminate sentence. No? And so, yeah, that leaves us with some legal discussions on how to go forward with this. There are implications. I will not mention them yet here because we really have not talked about it. There might be implications on what next steps to do legally.
Attorney Ted, what is going to be the process for the payment of the moral and exemplary damages? Is that going to be immediate?
Well, no. That's contingent on the judgment becoming final. So should the judgment become final, then that's the only time. Right now, we have a 15-day period to consider options, and so yes, we will take that 15-day period to consider options. But no, the monetary award of damages is not immediately executory. It is subject to review, and so it becomes executory only upon finality of the judgment.
Just a very quick follow-up, Maria. While the bail is still active, but I think one of the biggest consequences of this conviction is it will prevent you from traveling outside the Philippines because of the existing conviction. So, what are your thoughts on that, especially since you've been quite active in on the international community in terms of raising concerns on the state of press freedom in the Philippines?
That was also brought up by the judge, because previously the motions for travel abroad had been addressed to her. Should we go up on appeal, then those motions will have to be addressed to the Court of Appeals. So it doesn't mean that she will be restricted. It just means we have to ask for permission, and that's the case with every person who is charged in court. Yes, that's the procedure for everyone, regardless of who it is. Every travel, if you are charged with an offense, every travel will have to be requested from the court. Well, yes, of course. But again, that's the procedure. Yeah.
So what's been happening over the last few years is the walls are kind of closing in, right? It's been more than a year that I've had to ask for approval to travel from different courtrooms. I had to post bail 8 times in order to stay free to keep working. And each one of those charges, the judge there has to give me approval to travel. This one, so here's something I'd like you to really look at, and I would address this to Facebook as well. In 2016, narratives, attacks against journalists and news organizations were seeded exponentially on Facebook, on social media. The goal of this was to turn journalist, right, which is what I am, into the word criminal, which is apparently now what I am. Reality just took a little bit longer, but you can see how the messages seeded on social media become reality later on. And it's not just actually in my case, right? If you look at Laila de Lima's case, the seeding of the messages on social media, there'll be a study coming out on this. It showed that even before she was arrested, #ArrestLailaDeLima was deliberately seeded, trended, and then she was arrested a few weeks later. Be aware of this insidious manipulation. I ask Facebook to be aware and protect journalists. Don't strip away the protection our Constitution gives us. Because this is definitely death by 1,000 cuts. I'm sorry to overuse that, but that's the way it feels, right? This is not a death blow. In fact, I'm hoping that we will come out stronger, because there's that other quote, Nietzsche said it, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And this is making us stronger, right? But if all of us demand accountability, if all of us do investigative journalism, our world will be much better today.
Hello, Maria. This is Sarah from International News Agency EFE. Maybe you already mentioned, but I couldn't hear properly because here the sound is not good. Can we have, briefly, how many times did you post bail and how much have you already paid in total with all the cases? And also, second question, all these attacks to Rappler came in the last 4 years under the current administration. So, do you think that after 2022, the situation, press freedom in the Philippines will be better, the situation will change, or this is already a serious precedent that maybe other future governments in the Philippines may take advantage of these attacks to press freedom? Thank you.
So it's kind of like getting COVID-19. You know, it's meant to kill you if you're one of the 4% where it can be lethal. But if you survive it, it could also damage you irreparably, right? Your lungs could be damaged irreparably. I think that's what's happening now. Our press freedom has already been rolled back because we are a cautionary tale. And that has an impact on our democracy. How well are we doing our jobs when we are personally attacked? And then the second thing is, in terms of what actually happened, let me go over the 4 years, right? In 2016, the exponential attacks on social media, what we call the propaganda war, began. And when we published this 3-part series, I was getting an average of 90 hate messages per hour. Those same narrative attacks came out of President Duterte's mouth in 2017 in his State of the Nation address. A week later, that seemed to open the floodgates to the weaponization of the law. We got our first subpoena, and then a few months later, in January 2018, a closure order from the Securities and Exchange Commission. It's very similar to what happened to ABS-CBN. A small regulatory agency revokes our license to operate. We fought it. We're fighting it. We continue to fight it. But in 2018, in a little over a year, we had 11 cases and investigations. 2019, they went to trial. And I had to post, Rappler, our board of directors from 2015, we had to post bail. I have 8 criminal charges. It's unprecedented, I'm entering, next year will be my 35th year as a journalist. I began as a reporter in 1986, and I have worked in so many countries around the world. I've been shot at and threatened, but never this kind of death by 1,000 cuts. This is like getting a disease. It doesn't go away, and sometimes you're weak, sometimes you're strong. But I think what we have to do is we collectively have to find a vaccine. And that's what we're going to be working really hard to do. We have to fight back and protect our rights, the constitutional rights guaranteed to us. Thank you.
How much have you posted in bail?
How much have we posted in bail? I don't know the most recent one. I can send me an email and I can ask our CFO, but I do know that the last time I checked, which was maybe 2 years ago, we had posted more in bail and bonds than Imelda Marcos, who's been convicted in 4 different countries. And I've been arrested. I have had arrests with an S, and I don't want to call attention to that. But I do think the other question we have is, what is selective justice? And this has been a question in Filipinos' minds, particularly with the lockdown that we've had. So again, I appeal to the judiciary to uphold the rule of law and to maintain the checks and balances.
If you have any other, I will release the official statement of Rappler through the Google folder that I sent you earlier. Thank you, and thank you for trying to practice physical distancing as best we could given the situation.